Last year, I made Rainier cherry earrings and they went viral. I made over 100 pairs and still wear a pair I kept for myself almost every week. I'm making them again, and this time I wanted to show you how with my first YouTube video on this channel. In this 3-part tutorial, I will show you how to make a basic Skinner blend, a bullseye clay cane, and then the Rainier cherries. If you don't know me, hello, my name is Bianca. I'm a polymer clay and resin artist, and I started my business about 2.5 years ago. I sell mostly online now. Over those 2.5 years, I have grown a following of 500K total, which is crazy, over Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and then I just started posting onto YouTube Shorts. However, I have been promising long-form YouTube videos for a good amount of time. I recommend having some sort of clay roller pasta machine. This is the Lucy Clay Elephant Machine. It is like one of the biggest investments I made for my business. The Mercado Atlas 180 is also a fantastic pasta roller for clay, and it's one I use when I'm traveling. If you're really on a budget, I used an acrylic clay roller for I think like 6 months when I was first starting, and I did blend clay with this. It's just going to be a lot harder. If you're looking for a good workout and a lot of frustration, this is for you. Work surface, I use single tiles that I can get from a home resource store, and then I put these bumper stopper things. That way you're not scratching your desk. For the polymer clay, you'll need Sculpey Primo in white translucent, Sculpey Soufflé in raspberry, Sculpey Soufflé in yellow ochre, Sculpey Soufflé in jade, and Sculpey Primo in Spanish olive. A flexible metal clay cutter, needlepoint tool, and ballpoint tool. I bent this needlepoint tool to be like that. Circular clay cutters, 2-inch long head pins, some paint brushes, water-based polyurethane in gloss, a mold of a leaf. I made this one with a dahlia leaf, the magical one-step looper, regular pliers to open and close jump rings, 6mm jump rings, earring hooks, a respirator with filters made for organic vapors, your hands, and an oven. Start by conditioning your clay. This is done to make it softer, more pliable, and also to get any bubbles out. To do this, you can put it through a clay roller, or you could work it in your hands. You're just trying to warm it up, make it softer, and get any bubbles out. If you're putting it through a clay roller, make sure when you fold it, you are guiding it through the clay roller with the fold side going down first. This way, any bubbles will be pushed upward. Now that I have my white translucent clay conditioned, I'm going to start adding in the colors. I'm using yellow ochre. Okay, I never actually measure the amount I'm adding, even when I'm color matching an old color I made, so I'm not the person to come to for color recipes. I'm so sorry. I just eyeball it. For that pinkish red orangey color on the cherries, I'm mixing in Sculpey Soufflé in raspberry with half of the yellow ochre translucent clay that I just mixed. To mix in those colors, just keep folding and guiding it through the clay roller, making sure that the fold is facing down when you guide it through so you don't make any bubbles. I have both my colors now. They need to be rolled out in the same thickness. This is a very important step. Now you have both your colors rolled out to the same thickness. We're going to cut off each of the outside sides so that they are straight and the same height as each other. Now that they're the same height and straight on all the edges, you can cut the first clay color into an angle so you have a triangle. I leave a little bit of clay in that top left corner so that it's not an exact point. This is because when I mix them together, I want that one end to have a little bit of yellow that isn't mixed with the pink at all. Now place the yellow triangle on top of the pink so that you can cut the pink at the correct angle, also leaving just a tiny bit of pink on that bottom right corner, just like we did on the yellow. And now they should match up perfectly. However, now you have all this extra clay that you mix, so I usually double layered. So place the cut pieces on top of that extra clay and just cut them out to the right size. Match them back up together and kind of squish them together a little bit. You want to make sure that they stay together when you put them through the roller. Okay, you are now ready to put it through and start blending it all together, but I just want to let you know that this design for a Skinner blend will blend both colors together a lot. I just want to show you a few other ways that you can set up your Skinner blend and what the results will be. So basically, the more angled that middle line is, the more blended your colors will be. Okay, let's get back to this one. So now you're going to roll this through the clay roller at a little bit of a thinner setting just to really squish everything together and get it well attached. Fold it in half, making sure that the two colors are matching up with each other. Put this back through the roller with the fold facing downwards, and then just keep repeating that process. Eventually you'll have a pretty straight line that you can match up every time. You'll notice that the clay slab keeps getting wider and wider. There's a few different things you can do for this. Some clay rollers have guides that you can set up on top where you place the clay in. In my case, I don't have those. I end up using enough clay that it doesn't matter. So as I go, I will slowly make the roller setting thinner and thinner so that it stays at a good size for me. And you'll also want the clay to be pretty thin before we move on to the next step. Alright, and that is how you make a Skinner blend. You can try a bunch of different ways with this. You can do multiple color Skinner blends. I'll show you a few examples. Just remember to be patient with yourself because it's quite easy to mess these up. I even still do it sometimes. Fold your Skinner blend in half just as you have been, but this time guide it through the roller long ways. We are no longer trying to mix it together. We are trying to make a long fettuccine noodle or perhaps a fruit roll-up. So fold it in half again and put it through the roller. This fruit roll-up needs to be rolled out incredibly thin in order to achieve a smooth gradient in the clay cane. Because of this, I like to cut it into sections to avoid it all sticking together and being ruined as it comes out of the roller. But whatever you do, make sure you keep it all in order so you know which ends match up with each other. Set your roller to almost the thinnest setting. Too thin and it can wrinkle and tear. Not thin enough and you won't have a smooth gradient. I roll each section through twice. And I cannot stress it enough, make sure you keep them in order and know which ends match up with each other. If you did that with no problem, congratulations, you've gotten past the hardest part of making a bullet clay cane. I have messed this up so many times. Roll up your thin noodles, starting with the color you want on the inside of the bullseye. Move slowly and keep a small amount of tension to avoid bubbles forming between the layers. Match up each end. This is why keeping them in order is so important. You've done it. Roll your clay cane out a bit and cut into it to see if you successfully made a smooth bullseye or if it's time to go sit in the corner and reconsider ever touching polymer clay again. Nice. If your clay is a little too soft to cut into slices, pop it in the fridge for 20 minutes or come back to it tomorrow. Mix together your clay for the inside balls of the cherries. I'm mixing white translucent with some yellow and peach color left over from the clay cane. I got this appetizing American cheese color. I rolled the clay out to a 6mm thickness and I'm using the 1cm or 10mm circle cutter to measure out the balls. I am planning on making a lot of cherries. You do not need to use nearly as much clay as I am in this whole tutorial unless you are also planning on making a lot of cherries. Roll all those cutouts into balls and grab your bullseye clay cane. I rolled out the clay cane to be 2 cm or 20mm in diameter and made slices about 3mm thick. Wrap a slice of the bullseye cane around a ball, covering it completely. Roll it into your palms to make it smooth. Use a ballpoint tool to create a divot. This is the top of your cherry where the stem will be coming out. Lightly pinch the other side of the ball to start shaping it into a cherry shape. Poke a 2-inch head pin into the middle of the divot and straight out the back. This will create a guide for the head pin. Remove the head pin and stick it through the existing hole on the bottom of the cherry. The flat part of the head pin should be on the bottom of the cherry. Use the needlepoint tool to create a small indent on the top of the cherry. This will make it look juicy and also like cherry. Add any last shaping until it feels right and place those down onto a baking sheet. I do have a silicone mat I put them on. I think it does help it stick a little bit better. That is going to go in the oven at 275 for 30 minutes. Always do a test bake if you're using a new oven. Here are the cherries, all baked and pokey. So pretty. There's something about this color combination that just brings me so much joy. It's so pretty. Now that the cherries are baked, I'm going to create a little loop on the top. I'm using a one-step looper. If you make jewelry, this is gonna be a good friend of yours. Okay, just place it in. I have the length measured with a Sharpie right there. So I put the wire to that spot and then squeeze it and make the loop. I have this wire string tied to a hook on my shelf. And I'm going to pull it tight and attach it to another spot over here. But first I'm going to thread the cherries onto it. Once you have them all on, pull it tight and attach it to something over here, which I did not plan out. You could also make little hooks and hook them onto something like this if you're doing a smaller amount. Spread them out. You will have some drippage, so you'll need something to cover your area. I'm going to use this packaging that came in a package this week. Give them a glossy coat, and I use polyurethane. This is a water-based gloss. However, I recommend putting it into a different, smaller container so you don't end up with a gross, crusty lid. Like that. Ooh. And also it makes it really hard to close. When working with varnishes, resins, anything that's going to have harmful gases, make sure you wear a respirator with filters that are made to filter out organic vapors. And also I recommend opening a window. Don't forget your paintbrushes. Mix the polyurethane well, but careful, don't add bubbles. Dip each cherry in, but stop before it spills into the divot. Paint the gloss onto the divot. This will prevent you from having way too much in there. Use a flat brush to wipe away any drips before it dries. You will need 2 to 3 coats, and I would wait about 1 hour between each coat. Once you are done, let the cherries dry for about 2 days. Now please, enjoy this cherry dipping. For the leaves, I mixed together Spanish olive and jade. Don't ask me how much of each though, I have no idea. I know it's more Spanish olive than jade though, so there you go. Form the leaves by cutting out small pieces, rolling them into balls, and then squishing and pinching each end to form tips. Press into your work surface to smooth out the side going in the mold. Press the flat side into the mold and use a tiny circle cutter to cut a hole for a jump ring. Make it 275 for 30 minutes. Open a 6mm jump ring and add 2 cherries, a leaf, and an earring hook. Close it up and repeat the step, but this time put the hook on the opposite direction. This way your earrings will be mirrored. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. That is the longest, most detailed video I've ever edited or filmed in my life. If anyone doesn't want to make those cherry earrings and just wants to buy them from me, they will be available in a fruit collection I will be dropping mid-September. I am really excited to make more tutorials, vlogs, Q&As, or just whatever the heck I end up making. Let me know what you want to see in the future and ask any other questions you have in the comments. Good night. So,